Okay, last scenario. Worst scenario. You have no friends. Better than you, equal than you, worse than you. You just have nobody. And your online sucks. You're stuck in BFE. You have a horrible internet connection. So you can't even play online. So you can't even learn that way. So you're literally stuck. You're like stranded on an island. You're Tom Hanks. And you're stuck on an island. And your only Street Fighter partner is Wilson, who has no hands. So how do you learn Street Fighter in this situation? Dude, man, there's no easy answer to this question. This is a very, very unfortunate situation that you have, because it is going to be hard to learn. The one thing you can learn is execution. You can practice your execution. You can just go ahead and just practice your combos and such like that. And, you know, at least you can learn that much. You have to, if you're by yourself, you've got to be a training mode monster. That's one thing that you're just going to have to be. And the other thing is that you're going to have to go online a lot and watch matches on YouTube. Obviously, I said you may have bad internet, so this could still be a problem too. So it might be hard to watch YouTube videos or streams. But if you can go to shoryuken.com or you know, or if you're trying to learn an air dash game, you can go to Dustloop, for example. Go to the forums. You start reading some strategies. You start trying to understand everything. So let's say you go to, you know, a local coffee shop that has decent internet, and so you start browsing the web, you start watching YouTube videos there. You really have to become a student of the game. You really, really have to start studying very carefully. And another thing that you can actually do is start trying to communicate people via social media. Get a Twitter account. I mean, honestly, the fighting game community lives on Twitter right now. We're all there. And the players that aren't there, I yell at them to get on Twitter, because it's actually become a very important facet of our community. I've had a lot of people message me saying, I don't have anybody to play. I live in random place in Belgium. I live in random place in Minnesota. I live in random place here. And what I will do is I'll take their tweet and I will broadcast to all my followers, and I'll just be like, hey, does anybody live in Belgium / Minnesota / wherever that play the game? And a lot of times people respond like, oh yeah, I'm from this area and I play this and I hear it, right? And then, you know, hopefully someone like Justin will take it and he'll retweet it, because God knows he has way more followers than I do, right? So it's definitely a good way. Like, don't be afraid to talk to some of these guys. And you know, honestly, hit me up. Like, seriously, just send me tweets. Be like, hey, I need to find a scene. I live here. I don't know anybody. And I'll be more than happy to retweet you out, or just send out a new tweet for you, because, you know, finding people is very important. So that's another thing about there. Once you start doing that, you can't be afraid to travel. Because if you really are by yourself and you are interested enough that you want to get good, if the closest scene that's near you is an hour-and-a-half drive, I drive an hour-and-a-half to get to Super Arcade to do Wednesday night fights or the run back, okay? And I do this once a week. Drive an hour-and-a-half to get out there. Paradigm lives about an hour-and-a-half away from Super Arcade, and he goes out there every week and he plays every week, okay? So the thing about it is, you're talking to a bunch of people who live in SoCal, where driving an hour-and-a-half to go somewhere is kind of normal. So you aren't getting any sympathy from me if you tell me your closest scene is like 40 minutes away or whatever like that, you know? And, oh, you know, I mean, that's actually legit. You know, some people are saying they're scared to travel that far because you're going by yourself and you run into all these people that you don't know. You know, everybody who's gone to a lot of these fighting game communities have always, when you go in person, a lot of the times you end up finding people and you become really good friends. A lot of my best friends are fighting game players. You know, it's just, you can meet a lot of really good people by traveling to these events. So I would highly recommend doing it. And if you can, even just find a friend who might not even necessarily be into fighting games, but just ask them to join you and go to an event, right? Just go to an event or go to a scene. And even if he's not going to play, you have somebody else there to back you up in case anything happens. You know, knock on wood, I don't want to say anything will happen. Not only that, but if it looks like it's not fun or it's boring or whatever like that, it's very easy for the other guy to be like, hey, you know what, I need to get back. Can you drive me home? And you'll be like, okay, sure, no problem. And so, you know, you can just take off that way or whatever like that. You know, but just scope it out. But you can't be afraid to travel, because if you're trapped in the middle of nowhere and you've got nothing to do, I don't know what, you have to travel. You have to travel, so. And, yeah, same kind of thing. Reach out and find a scene. Reach out and find a scene by tweeting me, going to Shoryuken forums, go to, or even tweet Justin directly. Be like, hey, Justin, can you help me find a scene out in this area? Early on during the Tuesday shows, me and David used to do this community communication thing. And, you know, there was one time that there was two groups that told us about their community, that they were both in Maine, and they were close enough. And they didn't even know the other one existed, so they actually got together and started playing with each other for a little bit. I don't know what the situation with them is now, but that's just really cool. I think that's awesome, you know, to have that kind of situation occur. You got to go and try to find scenes. You have to do it, because if you can't play at home online and none of your close friends who live 5 minutes away from you are willing to play, and you really want to get good at the game, you have to put in the effort to go out. And if you can't find any scenes, you could try to establish your own. Very hard to do, especially if you're not sure there's a lot of players out there. But again, take advantage of people like me. I'm totally willing to be taken advantage of. You know, David does it all the time. But you know, so just send me a tweet and say, hey, I'm trying to build a scene in this area, and I'll be more than happy to send out tweets to say, hey, anybody in this area be willing to, try to start building a scene or whatever like that, you know. So yeah, try to use as many resources as possible, and you'd be surprised at how many places you find of people who actually want to play fighting games. I hear stories all the time. Dude, I met this guy who lives like not even that far from me, and I didn't even know this guy played fighting games, you know. So there you go. It happens all the time. So before I close out this episode, I'm just going to kind of bear repeating again. If you want to learn fighting games, grow comfortable with the things that work. If you play Jury with nothing but normals, and you start finding out what's good as anti-airs and really good as poking, and then you play a game where you learn how to, for example, like you play this game where you focus on how to break a blocking opponent, like with good frame traps and stuff like that, and then you focus on another situation, you know, where you don't ever jump. And keep in mind, this whole time you're losing. This is one of the key points about it. You're losing this entire time because you're not playing your full game, but you're concentrating on these little itty-bitty parts. But the thing about it is, once you start getting comfortable with your anti-airs, once you start getting comfortable with your frame traps, once you, like, let's say you play a game where your whole goal is to throw your opponent so you can try landing a vortex. So you just go out of your way, like if someone whiffs an uppercut and they land, you could do this big old combo to kill them, but nope, you're just going to back throw them with Cammy instead so you can practice your dive kick vortex. You're obviously not trying to win, but you're trying to learn certain skills. If you focus on all these little things and gain comfort in all these situations, you feel more natural playing your footsie game. You feel more natural, you know, with your anti-airs. You feel more natural and all that stuff. Once those things all come together, it forms a really, really powerful player. You become a very strong player. The reason why guys like Justin, like Vi, like John Choi are so good at these games is because they've seen it all. Every situation, they've seen it before. You know, as long as it's mostly Street Fighter based. Obviously, if you had like John Choi jump into Persona, he's just going to get blown up. But the thing is, like, someone like John Choi can jump into Street Fighter 4 without practicing much, and because most of the game is still a lot of the fundamentals that he knows, he'll body people. It doesn't matter what kind of shenanigans you have. He will beat you because he's so familiar with a lot of situations. Because in every situation that you can put him in, he's still comfortable. Most of the time when players lose is when you put them in a situation where they say, I don't know what to do here. I'm unfamiliar with the situation. I am not comfortable here. I am scared. The players who are good are the ones that never panic, that they're comfortable in all these situations. So if you can get yourself and hone in all these comfortable situations, you're not going to cover them all, right? That's going to take time. That's going to take a lot of time. But if you can get yourself to the point where you can recognize what areas you're comfortable in, and once your opponents, if you've run into an opponent who's still beating you, you have to recognize what area of his game is making you uncomfortable so you can focus on that one again. And once you get that, like I said, like if you learn frame traps and then you put that into your game that you've already established here, and then you add in like option selects, and you've already learned frame traps and all these other things, and then you throw in option selects, and then afterwards you concentrate on safe jumps and you pull safe jumps into your game. Dude, you are going to be a scary ass player. You are going to be one tough person to beat. And that's just what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take little bits and pieces. But the main thing really to take away from this episode today is don't jump in and try to do everything at once. That is the biggest mistake to try to learn fighting games, because it is the easiest way to get intimidated. When you sit there and watch streams, you see people do frame traps, you see people do optimal combos, you see people react to jump-ins with uppercuts, and you're going to spend the entire time going, you know what, I need to learn all these things. If you jump in and expect to do all those things, you are just going to get discouraged and quit. And the whole goal here is to have fun and to not get discouraged. And if you can find your victories in the little small things, instead of concentrating on winning the match, if you could find victories in small things, you will enjoy your game and you will get a lot stronger that way, and you will actually continue to progress. And there's no magic order. I can't tell you to learn footsies first. I can't tell you to learn combos first or whatever like that. Because footsies, to be honestly, is one of the last things that most top players learn, like to perfect. Footsies is one of the hardest things, yet it's one of the most fundamental things. So everybody's going to learn at their own pace. Everyone's going to learn at a different rate. Everyone's going to learn in a different order. And that's okay. Learn how you need to learn. But the main thing is focus on things one at a time. You know, little by little. And that's how you're going to get into the game. And when you fight against somebody else that you're trying to get into the fighting game community, tell them the same thing. You know, learn little things. Like, let's say you play against him and you jump at him for free all the time and he's using Ryu. Just say, stop. I'm just going to jump at you a bunch. Practice uppercutting me. Just practice uppercutting me. Get comfortable with doing an uppercut. And he does an early uppercut. Time it a little bit later so you get the deep hit in there, because that's the truly invincible frame. You know, go ahead and stop your friends and help them on their weaknesses and stuff like that. Don't take advantage of their weaknesses. Point them out and get them to get rid of it and such like that. In any case, yeah, very, very important fundamental concept. Grow comfortable with the things that work. That is not to say, I do want to add a little caveat here to, you know, if you find stuff that don't work, don't throw them away. Don't be like, well, this is useless because this doesn't work. The main thing important to understand is if something's not working, understand why it doesn't work. Because a lot of top players will get you to notice something's not working so that you will stop doing it. And then when you stop doing it, you've just taken away a big chunk of your game, and now they can take advantage of you better because they don't have to worry as much. If you can understand why it didn't work, then you don't have to eliminate it from your game and instead avoid the situation why it didn't work. So just because you're growing comfortable with things that work doesn't mean that you should throw away things that don't work. And if nothing is working, let's say you're playing against a guy who's better than you. You go to your weekly event and he's always beating you up. You know, take a step back. Look at it a little bit. Think about it a little bit more. Don't keep blindly jumping in against this guy and getting blown up. And maybe even like talk to him. Like try to have him help you. Be like, hey, can you tell me what I'm doing wrong? Can you help me out or anything like that? Like, can you give me any advice? Like, reach out to them a little bit, because a lot of times good players are happy to see other players trying. If you don't ask, and if you're this kind of person, like this person who doesn't care and just plays crappy all day, most of the time the better player's not going to like that. Now, there are some assholes out there that just like to beat up on hapless victims, and they think it's fun. So if an offline person is beating you up, all day, if he's beating you up all day, and you try to ask him for help, and he doesn't help you, just find somebody else. Just don't play him anymore, because he's not somebody you want to get to know anyway, and he's not somebody that's going to help you. So go find somebody else who can help you, and that's just try not to play him too much, and then keep him in mind. Let him be your motivation for getting better, so that you can go and beat him up. That's the way fighting games work, man. that's where half of the drive comes from, because you have that one guy that you just really want to beat. And, that's actually a really good thing. Vi has always said that. Find your rival. Find your rival, the guy that you really want to beat. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that helped a little bit in terms of trying to learn Street Fighter from a very beginner standpoint. Like I said, there's no concrete answers in this whole entire lesson, just a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas, a lot of ways that you can go, because like I said, a lot of other games have progression built into the game. Get more resources, build powerful stuff. Get more resources, build even more powerful stuff. Fighting games don't have that, right? So what I'm trying to do is come up with a system that can emulate that progression. Unfortunately, you have to decide what the progression is, if you want to learn how to do special moves first and then you want to learn blah, blah, blah. But the goal is give yourself a progression that you can learn. So, there you go. That's the first episode for Season 3 today. A lot of very interesting concepts talked about. If you have any questions still, feel free to email me at ultrachentv@gmail.com. With the subject line of Ask jchensor. I usually have two main things that I let people constantly email me about, which is Ask jchensor. You can ask me any question you want, even if it's how do I start my own community? What rules do you guys run at these events? How do I throw fireballs on a square gate joystick? How do I do frame traps? You can ask me any questions on Ask jchensor. I occasionally have episodes where all I do is answer a bunch of questions. The other one is that I love doing combos. I'm an execution fiend. I love doing complicated things. If you have trouble doing any sort of combos or anything like that, you can send me an email with the subject line of Execution Corner, and I'll be more than happy to try to help you solve some of your execution problems with that. But otherwise, if you just have general questions, send them to ultrachentv@gmail.com. And that's it for today. I do have a little bit of bad news. David has his car stuck in a garage. He was going to come and do a level 3 focus. He was going to do a level 3 focus episode today, but he can't get to my place right now. So he is stuck, unfortunately, and so there will be no level 3 focus today. I'm sure David would like to apologize for missing out on this. Hopefully he'll be able to do episode 1 of season 3 next week. But hopefully he will also be here tomorrow for episode 2 of the Tuesday show, where we will talk about all sorts of really crazy things, including stuff like Defend the North, which was an awesome event that just took place in New York this past weekend. Lots of fun results. Street Fighter 4, totally crazy results if you guys haven't seen it. First place player Zeus, Vega player Vega has won a major. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Vega has won a major, and I could not be more happy and excited about that. So, but definitely tune in tomorrow. This will be at same time, 8:30 Pacific Standard Time on UltraChenTV. Tune in for that, the Tuesday show. And other than that, then, yep, that's it for me. Thanks, everybody. Peace out.